everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the Legends of Tomorrow podcast. And today we are doing a mini episode. So we're just going to talk about one episode of Arrow, the most recent Arrow episode. We might dabble in Flash if we have the time, but this is going to be mostly an Arrow-centric episode for us. And yes, we have, the next week we had another episode. So it's a mini episode. It's like a 9.5 episode. But yeah, so let's start talking about Arrow. The reason we're talking about this is because it's Sarah's return. It's her full return, and we've been waiting to do this mini episode. So Greg, are you excited to talk some Arrow?
Yeah. I mean, I know people immediately be put off by what I'm about to say, but I didn't love the episode. I enjoyed it. But yeah, it felt like it got a lot of necessary plot points out of the way while setting up a few other things. Like the big problem for me is there were no big twists or surprises, I guess. It's really the character moments that shined, and it's always nice seeing Matt Ryan as Constantine. But when it comes to how Sarah is brought back, and whether or not she'll return, and what Felicity and Holt are working on, the outcome of that, we know what it's going to be, and we've known what it's going to be for quite some time now. So It's a little tough to really be like, oh my God, what? At that cliffhanger. It's kind of like, yep, all right, now let's see how it happens.
See, I thought this was a very solid episode because of the character moments. I like this episode better than the actual return episode when Sarah jumps out of the Lazarus pit. That's so far my least favorite of the season. But yeah, the character moments really shine here, which we're going to get into. But I do agree the big negative of this episode is that we know everything that's going to happen. There are no twists and turns. The Sarah thing, we know she's going to be in Legends Tomorrow. Ray, we know he's going to be in Legends of Tomorrow. So as much as obviously we're excited for Legends of Tomorrow, it kind of spoils these shows because we know they're going to be alive and they're still going to be heroes. I think Ray, I guess, at least has a little bit more plot that that we might not know about. Like Sarah, we know so much about the Lazarus pit. So because of Thea, and because of Ra's al Ghul last season. With Ray, we don't know much about his shrinking power. We might be able to learn more about Damien Dark because of him. And we'll get into speculation with the next episode. But I think we have more potential of twists in the next episode. But I actually did like this episode a lot because of the character moments. And I'm somebody that loves character moments, and I think we really got to see that shine here. But let's get into our first topic, which is the big thing for this episode, which is the return of Constantine to television. And I guess we could talk about the flashbacks also. So let's talk about the flashbacks first before we really give our Constantine opinion. The flashbacks were relevant. That's what I want to say. They were actually good. They weren't great, but they were good. They were watchable this week.
High praise, watchable. Yeah, no, I've been enjoying the flashbacks, but there's been this lurking question of where are they going with it. It's kind of addressing themes that have already been tackled, like Oliver, there's darkness within him, and now he returns to the island. And the way everything played out, it's been entertaining, but it's had me wondering what's the point. And this episode, I think they made good use of John Constantine to finally connect it to the modern story. And that's obviously pivotal for flashbacks. You need to use them to enhance present story, and that wasn't really doing that so far this season. The season has been really strong, but the flashbacks the point of them hasn't been entirely clear, and that changed this time with the reveal that there's some artifacts and mysticism going on the island, and someone wants it. And I thought that was a cool way to connect and introduce Constantine and his bond with Oliver, because that's not something I expected. For some reason, I went into it thinking 3/4 through the episode, he's going to reach out to Constantine, Constantine will show up, and that's how they save Sarah. But what they did made sense, and it connected to the bigger picture of really making magic a part of this season. And they're doing a good job, I think, making this season feel different than the other ones. It's a little more lighthearted. There's more focus on the supporting cast, and it's really, this show started off with trying to be quote unquote more realistic. It's obviously not that realistic when you have a dude with a bow and arrow running by and a bunch of gunmen are missing him and he effortlessly takes them all out. I mean, I'm sure someone out there is crazy skilled, but obviously there's some level of suspension of disbelief. And then, they used Mirakuru to introduce superhuman strength, but there was still some basis in reality there. It was kind of like a steroid. But then with the Flash, they could start introducing powers. And now here, they're just, they're saying, if Flash has all these cool powers, we want to do something different, something that's not just more gang warfare or not another Batman villain with the League of Assassins. And having mysticism on Damien Dark was a surprising direction, and it's really paying off so far.
Yeah, I think Damien Dark is one of the better villains we've had. Definitely. Yeah. And the actor's great. Like, he's like, you want to watch.
Great performance.
Yeah, just great. Like, he's
when
memorizing. I love his sarcasm. Honestly, the sarcasm in this season has just been great. I think Thea's had a lot of sarcasm, Quentin and Damien, and that's been awesome.
Sure, yeah.
But yeah, with Constantine, it's weird because I've only seen an episode of Constantine. It just wasn't really my thing. I have friends that love the show. One of my best friends is a huge Constantine fan, and she was so excited for this episode. But going back to it, the reason I didn't like Constantine is because I thought it was dark. It was kind of hard to get into, and it's weird. Was
the brightness on your television up?
it was a little down. That's why. But yeah, it was it was kind of hard to get into because of the magic, but it was weird that he really fit well in this episode of Arrow in the lighter version of Arrow. This is the lighter version or lighter season of Arrow, and he just meshed so well. I thought he was a really good addition. It's better than having a random villain of the week. I thought I liked this part better than that.
Absolutely. Constantine, especially Matt Ryan's version, his personality can be very entertaining. It can be abrasive at times, but that leads to a very enjoyable character who's going to make some very amusing comments. And he continued to have a strong personality. I mean, him, having the back scratch in the end, that was a nice bit of levity. That was totally unexpected, and he definitely brought some energy to the show.
Yeah, definitely. So let's get into our next topic, which is the big topic of this episode also, which is the Lance family drama, Laurel versus Oliver, Sarah. I obviously let's talk about Sarah first because, she's on our show. So she's on the show we're talking about, Legends of Tomorrow. And in a way, I like Sarah this episode, but in a way she was the weaker part of this episode. It was kind of cool, this like the mystery of like, oh, why is she attacking these women? Oh, because she looks like Thea. And I think you could have told, you could tell after the second person, like, oh, another woman that kind of looks like Thea. Oh, wait, all right, that makes sense. And I've been even saying it since the Lazarus Pit episode where she's targeting Thea. It's obvious she wants to kill her because everything we know about the Lazarus Pit. But the reason it's the weaker part is what we keep saying in every podcast, or at least last podcast and now here, we know what's going to happen. And there wasn't a lot of suspense with her. So that was the lacking part.
Yeah, I mean, you could kind of see all the beats that were coming here. It did a good job with some of the action sequences, that's for sure. They were really intense, especially the opening one when Sarah just totally lets loose. That was pretty brutal. But yeah, I mean, we knew thanks to a promo that Thea would end up in the hospital. And right when you see that, it's like, well, Sarah's going to attack her. She's going to hospitalize her. Obviously, that's not going to stop her from doing it. She'll go after Thea again. Seeing as Oliver's calling in Constantine, the team will somehow restrain her and then do some kind of ritual to bring her back to who she was. And that's exactly what happened. And just to clarify, there could be a great story where it's not about shock value or twists. I wrote an article last night about Under the Red Hood. That's a twist you see coming a mile away. Jason Todd is the Red Hood. Spoiler, I guess, if you've been avoiding DC Comics for like a decade.
Ever?
Yeah. but you know, even if you watch the animated movie, you know it's Jason Todd the whole time, but they still play it out in a way that really just engages you and gets you emotionally connected. And I don't know why I had trouble really truly feeling it with this story. I know a lot of people think Laurel's decisions were frustrating, and it certainly was. I mean, she
was used
was
as a plot device many times this season, I think.
sure, yeah. She, you know, she was in well over her head. She blatantly disregarded the uh, the opinions of people who know what they're talking about when it comes to this way of potentially resurrecting her sister. But at the same rate, you know, we're all human. We make mistakes. No one, except for maybe Grant Gustin, is perfect. Um, you know, we make dumb decisions, and love is, you know, I'd say it's one of the most powerful emotions there are. People would die for love. People would torture themselves just to save someone that they love, or they would do ridiculous things for love, and that's exactly what Laurel did in this show. She made a, she saw a chance to bring back the person she loves, and she went for it. Even though everyone was saying this is a terrible idea, she was thinking, I know you're saying that, but I can do it. You know, I have to right this wrong. We already lost her once, and then we lost her again, and it's not fair. She deserves to be alive. So she went for it. And in this episode, I'm glad they really addressed the humanity of these characters. The fact that they're not always looking at these things logically or with all of the facts. Sometimes they're driven by emotion, and that's something everyone can relate to. Maybe there's like one or two people out there who, you know, I don't know, can't relate to that, but but
Robots.
sure, yeah, there's Skynet or something. I don't know, but a vast majority of people should be able to relate to that, and that's something that we sometimes lose sight of when we're watching, because we get to see everything that's happening in their universe. We have all of the facts, so when we watch it, we don't have this. We're not always thinking about what it's like to be in the character's shoes, and we're looking at it as the logical path that they should take. And I guarantee you, if all of us took time to think about decisions we've made in the past that weren't the best, I'm sure, you know, as a viewer now looking back, we're like, yeah, that was really dumb. But at the time, you probably felt justified in, you know, the decision. So long story short, I like that it addressed Laurel basically admitting she messed up, but also telling Oliver, like, look, dude, are you really going to say you're in any position to, you know, give me a bunch of crap for this? How many times have you lied to me? And to be fair, Oliver's made big improvements. I think that's shown in the way he handled finding out that Sarah's alive. Yeah, he was surprisingly level-headed. And if you look at like season 2 or season 1 Oliver, he would have screamed, he would have barked orders, he would have like found a way to just go about solving this without someone else involved. But yeah, it was a very human approach to the characters, and I like that.
Yeah, I agree. I think the best part of this episode was Laurel and Oliver, and that's why I liked it so much. Because for me, like, I've always enjoyed Laurel. Like, even season 2, I was frustrated with Laurel because I'm like, you could be better. But I've always wanted to like Laurel at that point. And then season 3, she was one of the best parts of season 3. Her and Thea.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and now here, I was a little frustrated again with her with the Lazarus Pit. But like you said, it was understandable. She made a mistake, and what I liked about that hallway scene, it was so good. The hallway scene, she's like, I know I made a mistake, and I'm dealing with that, but you need to help me here. Are you my friend or you're not my friend? And honestly, this episode did something that has been broken for a while, which has been Oliver and Laurel's friendship. And you saw that in season 3. Season 2 kind of started the breaking of the friendship, and finally, I know it only took an episode, but finally they fixed it. It was just like one of these long time coming situations. And that's why I really like this episode, because I'm excited to see Laurel and Oliver as friends. Now, I'm not going into the shipping thing, because obviously you have the Laurel and Oliver, people that like them, or people that like Oliver and Felicity. It has nothing to do with that. Honestly, it's just kind of cool to see their friendship. And that's something I personally really like, is their friendship. And it's grown here. And like you said, Greg, it's getting into people's shoes. And that's what I love about television. I really like getting into the character's shoes and understanding why they do the things they do. And that's really why I like Laurel here. And it kind of tied everything up in the end, where Oliver was supposed to push away Laurel. And then they're like, oh, come in, Laurel. You're going to be part of my, I'm going to show that you're my friend still. And he doesn't really care about the politics of it all. And I thought it was a really good roundabout way to kind of fix problems. And I think season 4 has been a lot about that, is fixing problems Arrow had and making this a better show, and I've been loving it because of that. And Oliver, like you were saying, has been a big improvement of how he dealt with situations. Like one good moment is with Oliver and Thea, where Thea says, I'm sorry, I lied to you. And Oliver's like, honestly, you had a right to lie to me, and I'm sorry that you felt that you had to lie to me. And again, Oliver of season 2 would be like, why you lie to me? This is horrible. Get away. And it's like, go back to the hospital. You need to stay there. Oliver is very different now. And I think Thea was a big part of that too, of like that room where the training thing, where they're just, training, and Thea's like, well, you have to bring Laurel into your life because she's your friend, and you shouldn't push away your friend. So I love that moment, which we'll get more into when we talk about Thea, which I think is next, actually.
Oh, okay. You were talking about fixing some of its mistakes, and right when I said out loud while watching the episode, use a freaking trick arrow, Oliver. He did. Because that really bothers me. I know that Oliver can't just immediately use a trick arrow to resolve all of his conflicts. But sometimes it reaches a point where you're like, dude, why are you trying something that's blatantly not working? Like the first time he encountered Damien Dark. Damien Dark blocked the arrow. And then, whatever he technically did.
Whatever that thing is called.
Yeah. And then Albert's like, that didn't work. Let me try a few more in a row. That didn't work either. How about using like a sonic arrow or an explosive arrow? Something where if he stops it, it doesn't matter. It'll still impact him.
He wasn't really thinking about that.
yeah. And it's kind of tough because he's supposed to be this technical and tactical guy. And at times I have trouble believing it because he'll like rush into combat or not necessarily make the wisest
I think in this show, he's not, though. Like in the comics, he is. But I think he's proven that he's not a tactical person. He just kind of runs into it. Like his fighting skills are like his hand combat is. But his actual like archery, in a way, like he just like let's use a lot of arrows. For a show called Arrow, there isn't a lot of arrows in this show.
I wish, because my area, I won't delve into this too deep, but the same. I find myself always criticizing the way the Flash is handling a lot of action scenes as well. Like you have Barry easily catch 3 bullets out of the air. That's crazy. And then he struggles to deal with someone who's leaving themselves vulnerable for so long. Like that episode, I was thinking of so many ways they could have written it to make it more believable that Barry's having a tough time. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. And if we have time, we'll talk about the episode, which I loved, by the way. I love that episode. I'm not trying to be negative or anything. It's just, I wish I could be a consultant on some of their action scenes.
I agree. Hey, we're critics. That's what we're here for. We love these shows, but we also have to look at the negative of the shows, too. And that's what we do. But moving on, we're going to move on to Thea. And she's my favorite character, as all you guys know. And I thought she was really good this episode. Even though she was kind of used as, being flung around the room and being hurt. I did like that scene where Sarah goes into her apartment, because obviously it's very repetitive. We've seen it again, but I kind of liked how Thea escaped from it. But in my mind, when I was seeing that scene, I kind of, because there's this scene in Judd Winnick's run where Mia, who is based on Thea's or Thea's based on that character. She's in the hallways running away from Dr. Light, which is relevant because Flash had Dr. Light this week. Different Dr. Light. Anyways, she's running through the hallways and she has this like plastic arrow in her pocket and she throws it into like a water sprinkler or whatever to run away from Dr. Light. I'm like, at this point, Thea really should have like a plastic arrow or some arrowhead in her pocket just to have it with her because she's being hurt so often. She should have something with her at home. Like, you would think she's been attacked in her home how many times now? You would think she'd be a little bit more prepared for this. So I thought it would have been like a cool moment if she like had an arrowhead in her pocket and like threw it instead of using the glass, having that. I think it would be like kind of a cool reference. I don't know. I thought that would be cool. But yeah, she's kind of, even though she didn't have a lot of the fighting stuff in this episode, she was the level-headedness. She finally opened up about the Lazarus Pit, saying, I totally understand what's going on. I feel the bloodlust also. Like, she literally is the only one who could understand what Sarah's going through in a weird way. And I think they're going to explore that more in the next episode. But I liked it. I thought she was really well done. And since, season 3, season 2, Thea has been the level-headedness of the show, and she continues to do that, giving advice to Oliver, and even when she's being attacked, she's still very level-headed. What did you think, Greg?
Yeah, no, Thea continues to be a highlight of the show for me. She tends to be very rational, and it's refreshing because, you know, it's a show where things purposely get overly dramatic at times, and she tends to be the person who's, like, thinking it through before just screaming out her response. And I think a lot of what she says is agreeable. And as for her being attacked in her own home, there was the League of Assassins member, there was Al Ghul, and now there was Sarah. If I was her, I would be petrified. I would like my bedroom would be like a jail cell where like only I could let myself out.
Like, you would have some like booby traps or something. Like, honestly, that would be a good parallel to Oliver too, because as you know, the island has a lot of booby traps.
Yeah.
Like, her room should have some sort of booby trap at this point because she's being attacked. I mean, again, it's for the plot, but it's at this point she should be a little bit more prepared.
PTSD. Like, she's been a victim of a home invasion 3 times now.
In like a year.
One time it critically injured her. The second time, Roy had to come in. I think Roy saved her, or did Roy get beat up?
I think it was Malcolm.
Okay, but I remember like she had she spent some alone time with the DJ assassin, and then like right when he started to like reveal who he was, that's when like Roy busted in, which is really creepy because that means like he was listening.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that's a little.
There's a side story about that, definitely.
Yeah, I get that he was like. I get he's like protective of her, you know, and he should be. He loves her. He wants to make sure she's okay. But it was a little weird. But I think Roy got beat up, and then someone else had to do something. There's someone right now who remembers the episode scene for scene. I'm so frustrated. I apologize for not having. My memory isn't that good.
There's a lot of episodes, okay?
Yeah. And I haven't watched that one since it aired. But anyway, your point about Thea being, like, prepared, having a weapon on her at all times, that would be interesting. It's a reminder of, like, just how... Because she doesn't look like a very physically imposing character. Mm-hmm. Her stature, she's much... as far as I can tell, she's smaller than the other characters. She isn't necessarily as muscular as some of them. But she's very deadly. I mean, she was trained by Malcolm Merlin very intensely. Yeah. No
pun intended, but if you do look at the scenes, like that's literally the way she fights. She's very fast at everything she does. Speedy's very fast fighter.
Yeah, it would have been cool if she had like a projectile weapon that she could just like grab out of her, you know.
She better do it next time because we know it's going to happen again. She better have something on her next time.
But I also like how she was able to not only survive the encounter, but also deal with it entirely on her own. I mean, Sarah, she's obviously not in the right state of mind, but I'd say she's more dangerous than Thea is, even in this bloodlusted state. Probably more so, because she's not restrained at all. She may not have the technique, but that's compensated by sheer force and the desire to, you know, just murder what's in her sight. And she was able to hold her own. I mean, obviously, it didn't fare well for her, but she was able to escape on her own. I was thinking,
That's
like,
saying
who's
something.
yeah, I was like, who's going to conveniently show up and, save her, and Sarah's going to have to flee. And she was able to, deal with Sarah physically and then hide on her own and outsmart or trick her. So that was awesome. It was very intense and a nice reminder of just how much she's changed as a character as well. Like,
Yeah.
imagine how season 1 Thea would have reacted to something like that. She probably would have been like screaming and flailing or something. So it's good to see how much she's matured, not only in her personality, but also as a vigilante.
Yeah. And also, I mean, it goes back to what we talked about last episode where Laurel got tased. It's a big difference. Like, we're not saying that you have to always, like, there are going to be opponents that are stronger than you, especially since, Thea and Laurel are kind of newer vigilantes. But, like, Thea was kind of able to outsmart Sarah. So, like, it still had strength in her to do that. She was able to outsmart her. She had some action in there. But Laurel, she just, like, kind of got tased and that's it, So I think that was the big difference of what we saw. Like, I thought Laurel's fight was a little unsatisfying.
To be fair, though, Laurel she got sucker tased instead of sucker punch, sucker tased or something.
Still don't like that scene.
Yeah, my problem with it is just weird how she apparently got knocked out because she seemed like wide awake as she fell over. And as the camera moved towards her, she kind of like said, like, I'm going to take a nap now. Again, we talked about this plenty in the last episode, though.
Yeah. So, just to bring it up, there is a difference between those fights. But Laurel had some good action in this episode, so that was good.
Yes.
So let's move on to the next character, which is Diggle. And he was kind of a sideline character this week, but he did, like, have his own story. It was him and Quentin teaming up, which was kind of cool. And there was actually some really funny banter between them this episode. But honestly, a complaint I had is the ending where he looks at the folder, the classified folder, and it doesn't really reveal anything to the audience. It's just like, all right, here's this folder. And then Diggle's like, thanks. And then Quentin leaves. So I'm like, that's not much of a cliffhanger. That could be like a middle of the episode type scene, not last minute type scene in Arrow. So I was a little confused by that.
Oh, that's when Quentin, when he approached Damien Dark and was like, I saw the name, what was it, Andrew Diggle, I believe, was his brother's name. He was like, I saw that name there. Why do you want to delete the information of a dead man or something? Why do you want to delete a dead man's information? And Damien Dark went into the story about how, Andrew was serving in, I believe it was Iraq. He started getting into some kind of illegal activity, either dealing drugs or dealing weapons. And that unfortunately interfered with where Hive had territory set up, so Hive killed him. And I guess just to be safe, they wanted to remove the record of the guy, because if they see he was killed but not killed in action, then maybe they'll investigate it or something. I don't know. But I think given their resources, they could have just said, like, he was killed in combat or something.
Yeah, I just thought it was like a weird thing. It just felt like more minutes than they had to have. That could have been, like, shortened a lot more, which is, I mean, I want more Diggle, but I don't know. I think you could add a different type of scene. It just felt unsatisfying.
Yeah. For me, the highlight of that was just the chance to really interact more with Damien Dark, because I think he's a very good character, very well-written character, and the actor does a great job with his performance. Neil McDonough, I believe is his name, right?
Mm-hmm. I think so, yeah.
He's a great guy because he comes off as very formidable, but also very entertaining, I guess you could say. He's the kind of guy who can make you laugh 1 second and then remind you he's a terrible person the next one. When he said, like, he said something to Quentin like, I don't see you interacting with crime lords, present company excluded or something. Stuff like that. So it's very entertaining, especially having such a serious antagonist for the last season, Al Ghul. And then even Deathstroke, that was very Manu Bennett did a great job with the role, by the way. I'm not criticizing the character, but it was another very serious character who went for a very personal mission. And Damien Dark, he's a nice blend of ferocity but also levity. I mean, you didn't really go into the season expecting it, you know?
Yeah.
And for him to be a somewhat likable and entertaining villain.
He is. Even though he's not one of those villains with like a big name in the comics, he has that charisma, and it's really entertaining. Sure. And I'm really excited to learn more about him and like his background and like what he's gonna do next. So I don't think we're gonna get that until post mid-season, just because of the Legends of Tomorrow stuff. But I'm glad we're getting tidbits here and there.
With regarding Diggle, I thought it was a little unnecessary when Quentin approached him. He had to once again explain his relationship with Damien Dark, which was something he did in the previous episode with Oliver. It was basically, something we've heard before, and that didn't take up a lot of time, but it's kind of weird having to hear a character explain the same story twice, back-to-back episodes. And it was necessary because Diggle needed to hear that to trust.
Yeah, I think it was more about Diggle's reaction.
It was.
Yeah.
It was still kind of weird, though, that we kind of heard the exact same story twice. I don't know, because it was like, I don't know, maybe I'm over-exaggerating, but I felt like it was like a good 30 seconds of Quentin explaining.
I'm sure, yeah.
Maybe. Someone can probably watch it and be
it
like,
was
Greg.
27.8 seconds.
yeah, Greg, it was 15. Stop talking about stuff you don't know. Jeez. I'm sorry, but the point is it felt a little redundant to see it again. I wish there was a different way to have Quentin earn Diggle's trust. Also, hitting him felt a little unnecessary. Quentin could have had the gun. I've been like, I've got you, and hey, you guys go.
He just wants an excuse to hit somebody, you know that. After reading your tweet,
he's got a lot of anger.
So I'm actually. Well, we talked about Damien Dark. We'll go to him first before Felicity, because Felicity is attached to the next episode more. But yeah, Damien Dark. He wasn't in the episode much, but he's still cool. I think we talked a lot about him. Do you have anything else to say about him?
No, he's just he's a great villain so far.
Cool. So let's move on to the last part of the episode, or last characters we're going to talk about, which is Felicity, Holt, and Ray. This story, I would be more excited about it if we didn't know that Ray was going to be alive. But I do think that the next episode is going to have a little bit more story progression that we don't know, because I don't remember if I said this pre-show or during the show, so I'm repeating myself if I didn't. But I think we're going to get more twisted turns because we don't know much about Ray's situation. So I think it'll be interesting to see, we saw in the promo, spoiler alert if you haven't seen the promo that was after the episode, we saw that Ray was shrunk without the suit. So it'd be kind of cool to see, I guess, that he has powers, and we're going to learn more about Damien because of this. So I do think we're going to have more twisted turns, even though we know that Ray is alive. We won't have the suspense about that, but I think there'll be different types of suspense. Now with Sarah, you kind of know the motions a bit more because we know so much about the Lazarus Pit, and we, again, been dealing with it with Thea. But yeah, I mean, it was okay. There wasn't a lot here with Ray because we knew it all. That was my opinion on that.
No, yeah, I agree. You're kind of, I mean, Holt and Felicity, they have good chemistry. They definitely make for a nice balance in the show, where when you cut to that, it's going to be it'll be stuff that'll make you smile, even though it's obviously also going for dramatic, given the circumstances. But it's going for adding a little comedy to the show, which is always a good thing. That helps balance things out, especially after season 3, which seemed to really go a little too hard on the drama, the bleak tone, and all that. But yeah, like you said, I mean, we knew exactly where this was going from the beginning, and it didn't really pull any surprises, unfortunately. I mean, it was kind of there just to give us a little more exposition about Holt. It's like, he may be a tech guy, but he's also in really good shape, which is something that the comic book character is also known for. Mr. Terrific. He has a brilliant mind, and he has great physique, and he's very well trained. He's very athletic. So that was their way of saying, see, he's more and more like the comic book counterpart.
I still want more from him, though. Like, I think that's a complaint. Is like he's a little bit too much, just like the comedic relief. It feels like he's very two-dimensional because of it. But I mean, we just need more time for him to have layers and see him. And I'm not a huge Mr. Terrific fan in the comics. Like, I'm not a hardcore fan of the character, so nothing
Mr.
against
Okay.
him. Mr. Okay for me. So, yeah, I think he's got to really shine and kind of show he has. I mean, he has a personality. He just needs to have some sort of story. I think he needs a centric episode. But I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll get more time in the next episode since he and Felicity are sure to, take more of the spotlight now that it's going to deal with Ray Palmer's return. And hopefully that'll, even though we know Ray's going to be back and he's going to be well, hopefully it's all about, how do the characters react to that? What does it mean for them moving forward?
Will he be part of the team? Like the Arrow team for a couple episodes? That'll be interesting. Or maybe he'll leave the city for a little while. Like, we don't know what's going to happen with that. So, but we don't really know what's going to happen with Sarah with that either. Is she going to stay? Is she not going to stay? We'll see.
Yeah, like you were saying before, though, with knowing what's happening with Sarah, it was also a little disappointing that her return felt kind of simple. When they talked about, like, going to the other side and what they have to face, I was like, wow, we're going to see some really, really cool stuff. And it was entertaining, but it was just like, there was a cool shot. You saw the arms holding on to her in the pit and everything. And seeing Constantine levitate someone was very cool. But it was kind of just like an okay sword fight. And then Oliver and Laurel literally just pull Sarah out of the pit. I wish they did a little more with bringing about the moment everyone knew would happen. Sarah would return. I wish it was a little. I wish it offered more.
Well, maybe because we didn't really get to see the aftermath of her. It's just like Laurel saying, "Oh, she's resting." Maybe instead of having the Diggle scene, have like 2 minutes of like Sarah, like even on a couch, like talking to her dad or something. Like just a small scene to show like she's okay now. I don't think she talked after she was revived or her soul was put back into her. So I think we just need those 2 extra minutes of something with her that we just have to wait the next episode now for, which I'm sure we'll get a lot of next episode. I think next episode should be great because we're going to get a lot of stuff, but it's still waiting. Again, this episode is more point A to point B. It just got a lot of stuff accomplished, but I think it got accomplished in a really cool way.
Was there a Hawkman reference? Did they say that was the orb of Horus?
Catch that. I have to go back.
And Hawkman has the claw of, because that would be an interesting way to connect the 2 episodes. In Flash, you have Hawkgirl, and this one will nod to more existence.
And you had an Aquaman reference in Flash, so anything's possible.
Where was that?
Dave Garrick was saying about Atlantis, and he said, "Oh, it's underwater for you guys, but it's like above water for us," or something like that. So he's talking, and he's like, "Oh, my really good friend." So he gave a reference to that.
I had to kind of rush through that episode because I wasn't able to watch it last night. So I wanted to quickly watch it before Arrow aired. So I don't know how I missed that. Maybe I was talking to my fiance for a second. So
and you missed it.
Yeah. I was eating dinner while watching that episode.
No, well, now you have to watch it again.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Oh, definitely. Fine watching Flash and Arrow again.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. But yeah, that's pretty much the episode. So, we did forget to talk about one character before we close. Alex is a new character who's introduced. The campaign manager, he's going to be important. He's going to be Thea's new love interest, and supposedly he's going to be in more episodes, so he's going to be a recurring character. And yeah, I thought he had a good introduction for the most part. I didn't really see chemistry between him and Thea yet because they didn't really interact with each other. But spoiler alert, they're not the next episode, but the episode after, they had a synopsis where supposedly Thea has her bloodlusts again, and he sees her have her bloodlust. So I think that's going to be really interesting. It's like seeing the grounded world of, not really grounded world, but grounded world of politics, this normal guy supposedly seeing Thea having bloodlust and seeing more of the vigilante stuff. We haven't seen that in a while in Arrow, kind of meeting that groundedness or person that's not in the hero world see the hero world. So I'm excited about that.
What was the character's full name?
Alex. It's not Parker. I think his real name's Parker. I don't know the full name. For some reason, I feel he's gonna be Dodger. You remember that character who like stole stuff? I feel like that's what you don't remember him. He was in the Black Canary and Green Arrow comic from John Winnick.
No, I haven't read all that.
It's a good book.
I like a lot of Judd Winnick's
Yeah.
Green Arrow stuff, like with Brick and Constantine Dragon, Deathstroke. There was some cool stuff in there. But no, unfortunately, I haven't read nearly all of the Green Arrow and Black Canary stuff that I would like to have read.
Definitely give it a try. I think that's the character they're going for. If not, he might just be a normal guy, like going into this world of heroes and getting himself into some mess. But I'm excited about it. Like from that synopsis, I'm excited about that. But it is just his introduction here. I don't even think we'll get much of him next episode. But
they've already revealed that he's a love interest for Thea.
Yeah, that was when he was casted. So even before the season started, he's gonna be the love interest.
For something like that, I wish they would just say he's going to serve as Oliver's campaign manager or something. And then surprise us if he starts to get chemistry with Thea. That would be nice to see it unfold organically instead of knowing right from the get-go, like, yep, these two are going to connect somehow.
It's like, because they're young 20-year-olds.
Yeah, I didn't get that at all from the episode.
Yeah. I didn't either. That's why it was weird. It was just like, oh, he's there. And I'm like, where is this going to come from? I don't know if we'll have time next episode to see it. And then you got Bloodlust Thea in the episode after. So where are you going to have time for them to have a romance?
Yeah, at the end of the episode, she went after him. She's like, I have to go make sure he won't quit. But that was really forced because, like, he said, whether or not you take my advice, you're still paying for me. Yeah. Or, like, whether you win or lose, I still get paid. So it's obvious he didn't really care. He's in it for, the money. He wants to help, but he was saying, hey, man, I get paid from doing my job no matter what. So I didn't view it as, like, he's considering quitting.
Yeah, I hope they do something next episode. That's what I'm going to say. I hope, like, there's a scene where Thea says, my life hasn't been normal for a while. I'm going to go on a date or something. And then maybe we got that funness that we saw in the Flash episode,
Yeah. But the thing with them, though, they had great chemistry,
Yeah. And they were building it up. They've been building it up for episodes. It'd be weird if it's just like, Alex, let's go on a date. All right, let's go. And then next episode again, oh, you're weird. You're killing people. Bye.
Yeah, I kind of, I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, I can't be negative about it because I haven't seen it play out yet. For all we know, it could be a great love story, but I don't feel like it's really necessary. Like, I don't know. She's,
boy, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. It's almost like saying, like, Laurel needs a love interest now or something. Someone needs to be, like, I feel like you could tell great stories without needing to bring a romance element into it. Yeah. But I'm not saying, obviously, the show should be devoid of it, but the show has had a lot of that. And it would be cool if they focused on character-driven stuff that doesn't require that for at least a little bit. I don't know. Yeah. But I'm a grumpy old man.
I hope it plays out well. Like, I want to see, like, a good story. Again, maybe there'll be a twist with him, and I hope that's the case. I don't know. We'll see. But that is in our future, and we'll see in the next couple episodes. All over
again. That was not a well-implemented character.
Which character?
The DJ.
I know. He's the worst character on that show ever. He was so bad.
I feel bad for the actor because he was, like, he's like, yeah, I got to roll on Arrow. How awesome is that? And now everybody hates me.
Well, I'm excited for it. The actor's going to be in a show called Shannara Chronicles, and he looks a lot better than that. With Manu Bennett is going to be in that show, too. So hopefully he'll have better luck there because they did not do a good job with the plot for him. He had a horrible plot. But yeah, so that's kind of everything from the episode. So just final verdict from me. I thought it was a solid episode. Not too many shockers, but I think we're going to get more of that next week.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with it's a solid episode. It built up Ray's return for the next episode. It brought Sarah back, which is what it sought out to do. It gave fans more of Constantine on TV. That's always fun. It had really good character moments with Oliver, Thea, and Laurel, and there was some enjoyable action. I mean, nothing about it really, like, blew me away or surprised me or got me really, 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 really engaged, like totally loving it. But like you said, it was solid. It accomplished a lot.
Awesome. So we're going to be wrapping up the show. Sorry, guys, didn't have a lot of time to talk about Flash, but I'm sure in the future we will talk about the show.
I loved it.
We all loved it. We both. Well, I at least for me, I know I said it was the best episode of the season. Greg, did you feel that way, or?
I'm not sure. I mean, I have to really take some time to reflect on the other episodes. Wow. I don't know, but I have a very positive opinion on it. I think it did a brilliant job blending comedy with emotion as well as the overall plot. I think there were some really good performances, and they really, really, really used the return of Harrison Wells very well.
And Greg did not know that Jesse Quick was in this episode.
No, I had no idea. I didn't read the casting announcement. I had no idea that was her.
So Jesse Quick was in the episode, and we'll just talk a second about her. Sure. It was cool to see her, and I hope she has the Speed Force, because I think that would give more reasons for Harrison Wells to be doing the thing he's doing. He really wants to get rid of Zoom. So my guess is because Zoom wants his daughter. But right. We'll learn more about that next episode, I'm sure.
Yeah, if Zoom is going after other speedsters, maybe Harrison Wells is like, look, you cannot let anyone know, otherwise Zoom will go after you. And unfortunately, he went after her anyway. So now we'll see what happens with that.
Very excited. So, yeah, go, I'm just excited for both. I don't know what I was going to say.
Go Flash and Arrow, yay.
Go Flash and Arrow. So we are wrapping up the show. So Greg, is there anything that's coming up for you that you want to talk about?
I'm just writing for Screen Rant. I worked on a feature all day yesterday. The big rumor about Batman's solo movie is that it will be inspired by Under the Red Hood. So I wrote a lot about that, and hopefully that'll be on Screen Rant tomorrow. And tomorrow means nothing if you're listening to this at any point in the future. So tomorrow, yeah, tomorrow being November 5th. Hopefully it'll be on that website at some point. I also co-host the DC Movies podcast. Please check that out if you're interested in the movies. Listen to our episodes, and if you have a minute, please, please, please leave an honest rating and a review. I'm really looking forward to seeing more feedback about that one, as well as over here. If you've reached it to this point, first of all, thank you for listening, and second of all, if you could take a few seconds to rate and review, it would mean a lot to us. We're still we're still a young podcast, and we really appreciate all the feedback.
We don't even know when our show airs. That's how young we are.
Yeah, a lot about we still have no idea when the show is going to air, and that's going to really determine when we'll set a regular schedule for this episode, so people can know when to expect new episodes. Now it's kind of like whenever we can, but moving forward there will be more order to it.
So look forward to all of that.
Yes.
And is there anything else you wanted to say, Greg?
I mean, if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's just at Gregg Katzman. So I'd appreciate that, but we'll see.
So for me, you can go check out my YouTube channel, Hayden Claire Heroes. The show's Comic Uno. You can go check out my group YouTube channel, Comic Frontline. And if you want any more information, I do a lot of stuff on the internet, so just go on my Twitter, at Comic Uno, or my Facebook page, which is also Comic Uno Facebook page. And Greg, so what are the links for us to follow for Legends of Tomorrow podcast?
Sure. On Facebook, it's www.facebook.com/Legends of Tomorrow podcast. On Twitter, we are at Legends_podcast. We're also on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and YouTube. So please subscribe to those channels. And like I said before, if you rate or review, it means a lot to us. Even if it's negative, we're more than welcome to seeing constructive criticism. It's how we'll improve. But if you love it, we'd also love to see a positive review. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to reach out at this email address, the Legends of Tomorrow podcast @gmail.com.
Yeah, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode, and let us know what you thought about Arrow's episode tonight and anything about the DC TV shows. I would love to hear your thoughts. So this was the Legends of Tomorrow podcast, and we'll see you guys soon. Bye.